Good morning once again to everybody to the ELS meeting number 266 of the 2nd of June 2026. I would like to welcome the members of the regulator as well as the staff and the management within NESA, as well as the members of the public that have actually joined us. But before we go to the adoption of the agenda, I would also like to introduce the members of the regulator that are present today. And may I first start by inviting Madam Maseti to introduce herself. Madam Maseti.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to you. Good morning to everyone. My name is Nomfundo Maseti, and I'm the member primarily responsible for piped gas, and I'm a member of the ELS. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Maseti. And then I'm going to invite Advocate Sithole.
Good morning, Chairperson, members, NESA personnel, and everyone that has joined us for this meeting this morning. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Madam Sithole. And then I'm going to invite Mr. Mkhize.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Ms. Mkhize. I'm the full-time regulator member primarily responsible for petroleum pipelines regulation and a member of this subcommittee. Greetings to you, Chair, fellow members, management and staff of NESA, as well as the members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. And then I'll invite Madam Simone.
Morning, Chairperson. Good morning to our NESA colleagues and members of the public. My name is Tembeka Semane. I'm the part-time regulator member here at NESA. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Semane. So before we move on to the next agenda, which is really the adoption of the agenda, just a few comments to make here. With regards to the agenda, a little bit of some changes. That item 9 on the agenda is now withdrawn because it is actually related to item number 21. Also, that item number 12 has also been withdrawn because after it was submitted, there's further developments that have occurred, which therefore require us to relook at that submission, as well as item 18.5 also withdrawn. So with that, I'm now going to ask the members by show of hands if they are in support of adopting the agenda. Members? Yes, Madam Maseti, Mr. Mkhize, Madam Simane, Advocate Sithole, and myself in support of adopting the agenda with the changes that I've just mentioned, which then takes us to the next item, which is the declaration of interests. There is some forms that have been sent to the members, so they will fill in those forms. The members will fill in the forms that were sent to them. But however, over and above the forms that were sent, let me check with the members if they've got any verbal declarations that they would like to make in the meeting. By show of hands, members. I do not see any hands for verbal declarations. So thank you. We will then move to the next item, which is item number 5, application for a new license for the distribution facility. I'm going to ask Mr. Matibula, assisted by his team.
Chair, thank you very much. And again, thanks for the opportunity to present this application. Chair, the presentation will be done by Mr. Tsepora Mukoka, but I must indicate, Chair, that we have picked up that there are some timestamp that is not talking to each other with regard to some dates, but Mr. Ramkoka will clarify that as he is presenting. However, Chair, what we are dealing with here is an application by Lepelle Nkumpi local municipality. I think in the past 12 months, this is the second municipality that has made such an application. This is to have a license that is aimed at electrifying the area which is currently considered as a greenfield. So, Chair, I think let me hand over to Mr. Ramkoka just to take the members through the details, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Matebula, and good morning to Chairperson and to the members. Chairperson, let me start with the correction that we have picked up. The date stamp on 4.2, paragraph 4.2, the correct date, as also indicated in the reasons for decision, it's 15 January 2024. So the application by Lepelle Nkumpi was received by NERSA in accordance to Section 7 of ERA on 15 January 2024. Chairperson, this submission is by the delegation matrix supposed to come through to ELS for recommendation to the ER for approval. Chair, we received the application with all the supporting documents, including 2 supporting letters from the Department of Electricity and Energy, and MISA, which is the Municipal Infrastructure Support Agency of the Department of COGTA. The application was duly advertised for 30 days on the 26th and 28th of January 2026, where we received one objection that the applicant, Lepelle Nkumpi, responded to. Then on the 11th March 2026, we advertised we conducted a inspection in loco of the 3 said area, which is Jackingland, Lewakhomo Unit R, and Mutantanyan area. Subsequently, NERSA put up an application to an advert to alert the members of the public for a public hearing on a business day and be held for 30 days. However, there was an error in uploading this advert on NERSA website as per the procedure. And therefore, NERSA also re-advertised the same on the 1st of April for the public hearing of the 7th of May. Chairperson, on the 5th of May, which was the closing date, NERSA cancelled the public hearing because there was no registration by members of the public to present in support or in objection of the application in the public hearing. And therefore, the public hearing was cancelled. However, ESCOM sent in an objection, which was later analyzed and responded to by the team. Chairperson, we are therefore requesting that this application be recommended for ELS, recommended to the ER for approval, that Lepelle Nkumpi be issued with separate licenses to operate a distribution facility and for trading. Secondly, that the regulator approved the attached draft decision and draft reasons for decision that is attached in Annexure A. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, sir. So at this stage, then I am going to open it up to the members of the regulator. If they've got any questions or points of enhancements, over to you, members, by show of hands. Yes, let me start with Mr. Mkize.
Thanks, Chairperson, and thanks to the presenter. Just on the document itself, firstly, I think there must be improvement in terms of the use of language and the presentation. Makes it very difficult in some instances. I will just state a few, even when it comes to the recommendation, the purpose, right at the beginning, the way it's crafted, it's confusing. That to approve that the draft decision and draft reasons for decision document attached here to as Annexure A. Just that part, because then it talks to the issue of quality assurance. So really, there is one thing for language editing. There's another stuff, what is required of language editing. And I think that whenever there's a license application, it becomes important to highlight the criteria used in assessing the application, to the extent that one can clearly see that the application has actually met the criteria, and exceeded if that is the case. So it's very important that, and under 4.5, it's very important to also indicate right from the beginning from whom the objection came from. Because it's an objection, but not stated by whom. Here, there's an objection by a private player and comments by ESCOM. But I'm hearing here by a natural person, in other words, and not ESCOM. But when I'm hearing the presentation, it's like it's ESCOM that objected, just to get that clarity. And then in terms of the dates, if you can really realign with the date, just reconcile. If you go to 4.11, you say the effective date of this application is 6th May 2026, which is the date on which NERSA received all the required information. And then one then wonders why there were these preceding steps that took place, which are before the date, unless maybe there is a misunderstanding on my part. I stand to be corrected. And then when it comes to on page 10 of 83, that response, again, properly write it up accordingly. That objections by Mr. Nambo. You say that last sentence which says, therefore the objectors are interested parties and not affected parties. And my question, what does it mean? Of what significance is that? Just want to get that kind of clarity. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize. And now I'll call upon Madam Maseti.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to Mr. Ramokoka for the presentation. Chairperson, the first substantive issue from my side is on the issue of the dates. Looking at this application, it appears, especially if one has regards to paragraph 4.5, the date on which this application was published for objections. You will see there that the date is the 26th and 28 January 2026, when we received the application in November. So we're cutting out December, but the main point here is that when you advertise for objections for 30 days, at the end of that 30 days, you only have 60 days and nothing else. And that 60 days was missed. It means that the statutory deadline has not been complied with, which is the issue that we have always been faced with at NERSA, and that's why the law had to change from the 120 days because of the barriers to entry, because a license on its own, it's a barrier to entry. And now if the number of days are so many, now we no longer have the 120, and obviously we know that we're criticized for taking too long. And hence then there was a change to say, let's slash it by 60 days, 50% of that 120 days from the 30 days. Now here, and this is something that I was really paying attention to, because I could see that the division was interpreting this incorrectly. So it's obvious with this application that the statutory deadline, NERSA has missed it, because the 30 days for objections ended on the 28th or 27th of March. Now, if it ended on the 27th of March, we have 60 days from that time up until May. At the very least, this application ought to have been approved before end of May. Now it is before us on the 2nd of June. So I would like to understand how do we then justify this, because before us we've got an application that did not comply with the statutory requirement insofar as the timelines are concerned. And unfortunately, I have seen, and we corrected it last year, when the team seems to always be confused in these submissions, where they will start counting the 60 days from the public hearing. There is no such, there's nothing like that. It's not in any of the 3 pieces of legislation that are governed by NERSA. It's not on the public hearing. The public hearing is another additional opportunity for stakeholders to make verbal representations. But the law clearly states that this must be advertised on the newspapers circulating in the areas. And if then there is an objection, very clear. And then after that 30 days, the 60 days it kicks in. So we've got, I don't see any reason that has been stated here. And to deal with the issue of the public hearings for the advert for public hearing, which is another advert that is not stated in the Act, the way that RSU has been assisting there is that the notification or publication of the public hearing will be done simultaneously with that 30 days that is prescribed in the Act. Otherwise, there is no other time period for public hearings that is stated in the Act. It is not there. So that for me is the most important issue. Mr. Mkhize covered me on paragraph 4.11. In any event, by that time, we ought to have considered this application, at least by then, even if it was a public hearing, but we did not have much time. It would have been close to the deadline, because we've got the 30 days in April as well as in May. So it is completely, it is done. I'm also covered on paragraph 5.2 because it was stated that it is stated therein that ESCOM has in Limpopo supported the application. So when we hear that ESCOM has submitted an objection, I was trying to find out how did ESCOM now object to the application that it had already supported. So there is that inconsistency that we just need to deal with. And then then when it comes to the submission of the tariffs, which we mentioned in paragraph 6.2, we need to put a specific deadline there, whether it's a month, not a particular day, but a month. We need to put it there, because otherwise we can't leave it open-ended. There is a requirement for this municipality to comply with section 14 as well as section 15 of the Act. So if we want them to comply with those two sections of the Act, insofar as the conditions of a license pertaining to tariffs and all of that, we need to specify by when they are supposed to submit their tariff application. And this is linked to actually the fact that the team ought to have known they ought to know by when is this municipality is going to commence with the operation of the distribution facility as well as trading. So that is not coming out, because if then they knew as to when are they going to actually give effect to these two licenses, if they knew by when to give effect, they should be able to know the dates. That's the first thing. The second one is that they also, from the perspective of the three key considerations, where the municipality needs to demonstrate its financial abilities, technical abilities, and administrative abilities. That did not come out clearly, and whether they actually even have the sufficient resources in terms of its business plan to be able to commence with the licensed activities. If they can speak to that, and I hope that we'll then be able to be informed about the readiness of the municipality administratively to commence with the activities that it seeks to be licensed for, and also to be able to commence with the trading as well as the operation of the facilities. Those are the questions for me for clarity, Chairperson, as I feel that there are gaps in dealing with those. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Maseti. Can I ask the team then to respond?
Thank you, Chairperson. I will start with the questions and corrections that Mr. Mkhize highlighted. We note the corrections that the advice that Mr. Mkhize is saying that the typo should be corrected. But however, 2.3, Chairperson Mr. Mkhize raised the issue of a criteria. The rules for licensable area of supply is the criteria for considering such applications. But however, in the reasons for decision, maybe we did not go into depth, rooting out those criteria as they listed in there. We just mentioned that it's in line with the NERSA rules for licensable area of supply. 4.2, the objection, the objection when the applicant advertised its application, there was an objection that came from a member of the public on behalf of a group of people who signed their register. However, that was responded to by the applicant, and the responses and the analysis are stipulated in the reasons for decision, but we just summarized it in the submission document. So we did not go into detail, but the details are in the reasons for decision. The one issue was the effective date. I think the effective date would craft this effective date as in line with what Ms. Maseti has just highlighted. So as we align this effective date in line with the 60 days that she advised. I'll talk to it when I talk to the issues that Ms. Maseti talked to it. Chairperson, yes, it's correct. We have said in the submission, in the reasons for decision, that the community of old unit R, they are an interested person, not the affected person. This was based on the fact that this area is a greenfield. There's no settlement. There's no any residence in that area. So they are adjacent to that area. So they are just interested in knowing that the municipality has submitted an application to NERSA, but they are not affected because they won't be. They're already electrified, and they're electrified by ESCOM, and adjacent to them, they are not affected by such because they are not the customers that will be connected. Coming to the issues raised by Ms. Maseti, as I indicated, the date of this application that was received by NERSA is 15 January, and maybe if there's any impression of November, it's incorrect. The date of it is 15 January. Therefore, the calculation of the days starts from 15 January. They sent in an application, we acknowledged it, and we advised them to advertise. They advertised for 30 days. After 30 days, we received they did the objections. However, when NERSA had to advertise in 2 newspapers, there was an error in uploading the advert on NERSA website, and therefore that delayed, added more days to it, because we advised that we have to ensure that we have to re-advertise and make sure that the application is loaded onto the NERSA website. Hence, the dates were extended. We had to advertise another 30 days. And it's correct, we should have got this, this submission should have came earliest by the first week of May. Yeah, Chairperson, there was the issue about ESCOM OU supporting the application, and ESCOM later send an objection. We have, as NERSA, we have realized the same pattern, and we've discussed this with ESCOM. The OUs would, as they are the provincial OU, they would interact with the application, with the applicant, and agree and see the prospect of such application. But however, when the head office sees an advert of an objection, even relating to an area of supply or distribution facility, they would send an application, an objection to such. And we've indeed raised it with them because of that inconsistencies that coming from ESCOM. Chairperson, the issue around knowing the date of commencement of electrification it's a bit difficult, because it's a chicken and egg situation. Firstly, the finance is coming from the Department of Energy and Electrification, and therefore the funds cannot be released up until the license is approved, and therefore when the funds are provided to the applicant or to the municipality, that's when the electrification can commence, and therefore before energization or commissioning, the tariff will just before that be applied for. So the dates, these dates are a bit challenging to both the applicant and for NERSA to note exactly when will this electrification commence. And therefore, that's the challenge that NERSA and the applicant cannot is unable to resolve. The last was that there should be assessment of financial and technical abilities. I'll talk to technical abilities. Technical abilities, municipality, this application was, the municipality has appointed a consultant, that the consultant will do the application, establish an electricity department, and hand over time to the applicant for operation and maintenance of the facility. And therefore that's the part where we felt that the technical ability, the applicant will have technical ability, financial ability will be with the budget that comes from the department in terms of the electrification funding that is given by government. Chairperson, I'll stop there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see also Mr. Matibuda wants to come in.
I just wanted to add, Chair, that yes, so we had two publications actually on this particular submission. So we had the first one, which we realized that the documents were not updated on the government gazette, and we consulted with LAS, and they LAS advised that we need to republish. So the republication was then done in April and closed at the end of April. And so that the 60 days counted from May. So, Chair, we believe that we are still within, and our intention is to have this license application approved within this month by the regulator, so that we can be within the 60 days. Yeah, maybe that. Let me leave it there, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Going to call up.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, it seems that the team is simply confused about the timelines here. First of all, once we receive an application, who advertises for objections? It is not NERSA. NERSA will receive the application, check its completeness, and all the information that is required, maybe in terms of the rules, if all the information is adequate, to enable NERSA to commence its evaluation of the application. If NERSA is now satisfied, NERSA will process, obviously, the confidentiality claim if there is any confidentiality claim made by the applicant. That's the second step. If then that has been dealt with, the law requires that the applicant advertises in the newspapers. It is not NERSA that advertises. That has never changed, even with the previous provisions of the Electricity Regulation Act. It is the same in the Gas Act. It is the same in the Petroleum Pipelines Act. It is not NERSA that advertises or publishes. It is the applicant. So the submission before us, it says that the publication for objection was done on 26 and 28 January 2026. If that was for objections, clearly it is the applicant, this municipality, that advertised. And we must state which, in the newspapers, it advertised the application for it. So that is the first thing. Then from that 30 days, which expired, if it's the 28th of January, or whatever the time is, then the 30 days then expired, which is the objection, the first period, which is for the 30 days of objections. And then from there on, NERSA was required to then make sure that we, at least from our side in terms of our processes, we have 60 days after the 30 days. So if the 30 days expired, say in, I just want to check when did we advertise, 26, 28 January. So the 30 days expired in February. So if it has expired in February, you've got only 60 days as NERSA to consider and finalize the application, meaning that you have then the March and April. You've got 60 days. The fact that you advertised for public hearing, it is not in the Act. We all publish for public hearings and we've been complying with the statutory requirements. It's not new in electricity being done differently. It's not even done differently. So you must also check the APP, the way that it is crafted, because we set as a regulator last year so that we understand exactly how this is going to be done, particularly on this aspect, because we've got a very bad record, especially in electricity, with taking too long to process license applications. Hence, the regulator members during the workshop paid attention to this particular aspect of the 60 days. I don't know if, and we sat with the LAS and SPM and the members of the regulator on this aspect, so that we are all aware. As to the another publication in April and so forth, who did that? Is this NERSA for purposes of the public hearing? It has nothing to do with what the law says we must do. The applicant advertised, the 30 days has expired, NERSA only had 60 days. If anything, you wanted to do things right for public hearings or whatever it is that you want to advertise, do it within that 60 days after the 30 days. So you exceeded that because you're only bringing the application in June. So the application already expired in May. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Maseti. And then I'm going to call upon Mr. Mkize.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm very conscious of time because we've taken now a long time, at a sizable amount of time, this application. At the high level, I would say, please, and the team needs to ensure that they put things in proper chronological order. They use proper terms. For example, if there was an objection, still the effective date of application cannot be a time after, because it then nullifies why there was this process undertaken prior to the application being complete. So use the proper terms, make sure that you clean up the document. There's no way that if a person is interested or affected, it's neither here nor there, doesn't actually have any bearing in terms of what needs to be done. That is, for me, it just puts confusion instead of helping to understand. The issue of criteria, highlighting them at a high, at a high level, to assist, especially in the submission, just to indicate, because whenever you're looking at granting or not granting, you're looking at certain criteria being met or not met. So just to write it in simplicity, in a simple form like that, go a long way to understanding an ER actually. So the members that are not closer to this, compared to this subcommittee, to be assisted to take decisions quickly. because we as subcommittees and as ER are here to take decisions and not really to be busy with all this, grappling with all these challenges. Please, team, always assist us, even the articulation. Assist with the articulation. We talk of 18 January, you said 2024. Maybe it was a slip of the tongue. I wanted to say 2025 or 2026. I don't know. But please, let's use proper language and make sure that we are clear so that you help us to take decisions soonest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize. Now call upon Advocate Sithole.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to Tate Ramokoka, Chair. Mine, it's just a point of enhancements in terms of the draft reasons for decision. I've noted that the team has highlighted the technical and economic ability of the applicant, and I thought that they could also add the financial ability of the applicant, because there is information provided by the applicant in its business plan. I think in one of the pages, I think it's page 16, where they're indicating their financial ability. So I just thought that in the same manner that they've analyzed the technical abilities and economic analysis that has been done, they can add that financial ability of the Munichs, just to give a bigger picture for any reader to follow up this particular application, Chair. That is just a point that I wanted to make, Chair, in enhancing the draft reasons for decision. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Advocate Sithole. Can I now ask the team then to respond?
Thanks, Chairperson. Chairperson, we note the points of enhancement that we have to look into, and also the correction of the date that was mentioned by Mr. Mkize, and we will have to add that financial ability into the reasons for decision as advised. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you,
Yeah, Chair. Maybe in addition, I think there has been a request that the criteria also be indicated. So as we indicated that the application had satisfied the criteria, but we had not indicated or described the criteria in the document. We will make sure that that is also added, Chair. Thanks.
Just to double check with the team again. Oh, okay. I see Madam Maseti. Please come in, Madam Maseti.
Chairperson, if they can insert a table with all the timelines, starting with the date of receipt of the application. If it was incomplete in November that they mentioned, then the effective date of submission, or official, not effective, official date. If it's the 15th, they must also include the date on which confidentiality was done, if it was done, the date on which the applicant advertised, which is the 26th and 28th, but also furnish us with the proof, because the applicant does send that back to NERSA to show that it has indeed advertised for objection in specific newspapers that are circulating and where else they put it. So if they can kindly do that up to the end, because it will assist the energy regulator to determine whether or not the energy regulator failed to comply with the timelines that are stipulated in the Act, and in trying to correct what was always the heavy criticism against the regulator in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Maseti, and also to all the members. So where we are now, I think we have heard what the members have put forward as various points of enhancements, including tables, and everything else that must be done to revamp this RFT. So with those enhancements that the members have put forward, I may now ask the members to consider the recommendations together with the enhancements. And I see there on 4.14, point 14, where that is requested that the electricity subcommittee recommend to the energy regulator to approve Lepile local municipality be issued with separate licenses to operate a distribution facility and trading. And then secondly, to approve the draft decision and draft reasons for decision, which is Annexure A. So by a show of hands, if the members are happy to approve the recommendations together with the enhancements, if I can see by show of hands, Madam Semane, Mr. Mkize, Madam Maseti, Advocate Sitole, and myself. So thank you very much for that. It now then takes us to the next agenda item number 6. Again, I will call upon Mr. Machebula to come for item number 6. Oh, I see, Madam Sitole, your hand is up. I don't know whether it's lingering or it's a new issue.
Chairperson, my hand is down. If it is, it may be a mistake.
All right. Okay. No, thank you. All right, Mr. Machebula, can we go to item number 6?
Yeah, Chair, good morning. And this item, Chair, came as a matter arising at ER to present to the members the status with regard to the municipal bulk accounts with ESCOM and some of the challenges that municipalities are facing and contributing to municipalities not being able to pay their accounts. So, Chair, we saw it fit that before we respond to that matter arising at ER, we bring it here for it to get members, ELS members' inputs before it can be shared at ER as a matter arising item, Chair. So I will ask Ms. Kulani Matumbu just to take the members through and we can consider the comments and inputs, Chair. Thanks.
Chair, apologies to interject. Mr. Matebul, are you sure you are on item 6? You seem to be on item 8.
I see that. Thanks. Apologies for that, Chair. I had gone ahead of myself. Item 6, Chair, it's the regulatory clearing accounts from ESCOM for MYPD 5, Chair. And I will ask Mr. Tilibalin Takeni just to take the members through. Chair, the request is for the subcommittee to recommend that the energy regulator approve the decision of the ESCOM MYPD 5 RCA, as well as the reason for decision. So I'll ask Mr. Takeni just to talk to the figures and how we arrived at the figure that is being proposed, and for members to make their inputs. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mr. Matebul, and good morning to members and colleagues and members of the public. So this is the application that we had received from ESCOM on the 17th of October 2025, and we had accessed it for compliance, and the compliance was confirmed on the 6th of November 2025. Then the application was then published for stakeholder comments on the 3rd of December. 2025. And the closing date for the comments was 30 January 2026 to allow stakeholders enough time to provide comments. And then we also give opportunity for stakeholders to provide oral comments on the 6th of February. However, we could not receive stakeholder who are interested to make those oral comments. Even for the written comments, we had not received the written comments. In terms of the application, Chairperson, if you see Table 3, the application ESCOM is requesting for 15.5 billion, and it is made up of mainly the expenditure, which is sitting at 19.1 billion, and primary energy, 19.3 billion, and the return, which is 1.2 billion. Those are the big ticket items that is driving the 15.5 billion. And then in terms of the work that the team has done in terms of the analysis of the application, if I can take stakeholders quickly to Table 1, which is on page 8 of 265. Adjustments were made on the return item, line item, which is the adjustment of 219, as you can see under the adjustment column, and the expenditure line item, which is the adjustment of 3.8 billion, and the primary energy, which is the adjustment of 5.4 billion. And then for expenditure, quickly, Chairperson, the adjustment were driven mainly by limiting the employee benefit cost to inflationary increase and the other costs. But for the return, I will ask Mr. Chabalala to lead us in terms of the makeup of the 219, and then it will be followed by Ms. Makubane on the makeup of 5.4 billion, Chairperson. Then we'll conclude.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ntakin. Mr. Chabalala.
Thank you, Chairperson. And good morning, members, and yourself, Chairperson, and my fellow colleagues. In terms of the REP section, ESCOM applied for an additional return of 1.2 billion, which was actually based on the variance between the actual return recorded of 14.6 billion compared to the original decision of 13.4 billion. So the recommended decision, Chairperson, is to approve 4.9 billion in favor of the customers. And then this decision is actually made up of 998 million in additional returns when compared to the ESCOM applied for 1.2 billion and the 5.9 billion for depreciation. In essence, the adjustments are actually are driven by work under construction and net working capital, whereby in terms of the work under construction, we made adjustments to say that we disallowed the outage and technical plan expenditure. And this is mainly to say that this is because ESCOM already earns a return and depreciation on a higher modern equivalent asset value, which already assumes a modern plant that is well maintained, as opposed to earning a return and depreciation commensurate with an aged plant that requires performance restoration. And then lastly, Chairperson, the adjustments to the net working capital is mainly to limit the debtors to an age profile of 45 days, which is in line with Section 9.5.2 of the MIPD4 methodology. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks, Mr. Chabalala. And then you also called upon Madam Makubane.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you. Good morning, members and colleagues. I will quickly take you through the primary energy section, and then the colleagues will come in on some of the line items. So we're indicating that from table 64 on page 91, we highlight the balances that are coming out of the primary energy section, and the three drivers we're highlighting that it's the OCGT usage at 71%, the startup fuel at 22%, and coal usage at 9.7%. The NESA analysis starts on page 92, and we're highlighting the ESCOM performance historically as well as within the financial year in question. Table 65 indicates that the ESCOM fleet, the energy availability has decreased by some 4% compared to what was planned and submitted as a production plan for the NYPD, or rather for the decision, for the revenue decision for FY 2024. And the decline is largely driven by the unplanned capacity losses, which has been a concern over the years. Table 67 highlights the impact of the decline in the performance in terms of energy sent out from the various technologies, and we're identifying energy shortfalls that are coming out of the ESCOM fleet to some 4,700 gigawatt hours, as well as the shortfall coming out of the IPPs and imports to an extent of some 6,600 gigawatt hours. On page 67, we are just highlighting the summary of the PE balance. So in terms of the OCGT, the analysis starts on page 114. And we're indicating that the performance decline that we've highlighted earlier has resulted in the overutilization of OCGTs to an extent of 2,368 gigawatt hours. That's shown on page 89. The overutilization resulted in the cost variance of 15 billion 470, indicated on table 90. So the NESA adjustment and reasons can be found from pages 118. So the assessment for OCGTs is conducted in two parts. We first check the efficiency of the unit costs of diesel procured, and then we also check the volumes generated. So the unit cost for diesel, we benchmarked with BR data, and we found that to be in line when looking at the contracts that ESCOM went into for diesel, which they shared with us. The volumes, however, have been found to be above the regulated decision. We used the hourly data to quantify the generation for peak, and that came to some 1,584 gigawatt hours, resulting in an allowable 9.7 billion for diesel. So the excess of 2,150 gigawatt hours then becomes what we need to assess. Section 17.2.9.4 of the MIPD methodology does indicate that the usage of OCGTs above MIPD approved levels will be recovered through the RCA at the average cost of ESCOM's plant that should have been available according to the production plan submitted to the regulator. And then should that unavailability be within ESCOM management control, the additional OCGT energy will be recouped at the coal average cost. But as we've indicated earlier, that the energy shortfall is attributed to ESCOM, but it is also attributed to non-ESCOM plant. So we quantified the ratio of the shortfall, and we applied that to then calculating the adjustment to ascertain the cost that should be allowed at coal costs and the volumes that should be allowed at diesel costs, and we break down that calculation on page 91, and that was just to have a fair distribution of risk in terms of projected volumes from all participants. And then this has resulted in the recommended adjustment that can be found on table 19 on page 120. Chair, if you'd allow, I would just then call on Mr. Maluleke to touch on the startup fuel sections, and then followed by Mr. Shabalala, who will touch on the coal usage. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Agwan, and good morning, Chairperson, members and colleagues on call, and also good morning to the members of the public. On startup gas and oil, we did not make any adjustment because Eskom has efficiently procured within the acceptable range. They did not exceed the benchmarked amount, so we take it that they were efficient in their procurement of the fuel cost. And that it must be noted that in the 22-23 financial year, the load shedding was at its peak. So it was more on a severe levels, resulting in an increased reliance on fuel oil to restart units due to multiple breakdowns. And also there was a decision in the same year that to shut down plants, generating plants ahead of the repurposing of power station and maintenance. Expenditure typically to reduced only to essential statutory requirement. However, following the postponement of these plans, and the difference, they deferred the maintenance due to that decision. It accumulated a bit of backlog in the maintenance because these plants needed to come back online, which increased the reliance on fuel oil. And however, also Eskom did report that there was a significant improvement in the coal quality at some of the power station, including Anode, Camden, Grootvlei, and some others. That improved coal quality contributed in a more stable performance, and better coal quality translated into the reduction in the usage of startup and fuel oil. Lastly, Chairperson, it can also be noted that the fuel oil approved a cost was around 12.21 rand per litre, of which the actual expenditure was around 13 rand for set, as shown in table table 3 of the document. This must be, I think it might be a mistake. It can be table 3. Okay, it must also be noted that the commodity is dependent on the rand-dollar exchange, and the prices fluctuate regularly, making it a bit unstable. So that is one of the drivers of the changes in the fuel oil prices. But with that bottom line, we are saying that there is no adjustment in the price, which is determined, is brought forward by Eskom on the RCA. Thank you, Chairperson.
Is that it from the team?
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Ms. Magubane, for the introduction of the discussion. I'm going to take you through, Chairperson, on the coal usage, which starts on page number 93 of our submission. And then I've just covered the issues of the coal qualities, as well as the coal stock, and as well as the coal handling. With regards to the...
Sorry, Mr. Chavalala, before you go on, can I ask you to hurry up now? Because the members, I think we did get the documentation. So just hurry up so that the members can also get a chance to ask their own burning questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. With regards to the issue of the coal qualities, we indicating Eskom application concludes that coal quality has improved at the majority of its coal-fired power stations, resulting in minimal coal-related OCLF at Arnott, Camden, Grootvlei, and Kendal. Chairperson, in terms of our analysis, when we're doing the desktop assessment for the 24 financial year, coal quality report indicates that Letaba power station received coal with a low calorific value, falling below the contracted value. In support of our findings, the Opera assessment report, revision 2 of August 2023, indicates that Letaba power station consistently received coal that does not meet the design specification. With that said, Chairperson, when we've done the calculation in terms of the burn rate, the team considered a burn rate of 0.6 kg per kilowatt hour to be feasible, even in the MYPD 6 reason for decision. And this rate was also achieved during the MYPD 5 2024 financial year. The calculation is on table number 70, which is on page number 7. It indicates what you call a percentage, 1% rate. And as we compare it with the 2023, it was sitting at 3%. So now, because we are on 1, we see that there's actually a reduction, which confirms that the burn rate that Eskom it's declaring, we are satisfied with that. With regards to the coal stock, Chairperson, Eskom total coal stock for coal-fired power station amounted to 80 days. NERSA considers these stock levels acceptable as they remain above the grid target of 20 days. Chairperson, in terms of our adjustment and reasons, they are depicted on table number 72 on page number 99. And then in applying our MIPD PBR formula, the difference to be returned to Eskom is higher than 2.166 billion as calculated by Eskom, because this value exceeds the actual amount for which Eskom is out of pocket. A total of amount of 69.023 billion is allowed, which means that the amount clawed back by Eskom will be limited to 2.122 billion. I submit, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Can I now call upon the members if they've got any questions or points of enhancements? Over to you, members, by show of hands. Yes, I see Madam Maseti.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. And thanks to the team. Chairperson, I just want to start off with the process. First, just to make sure that we will not be faulted on process. The team mentioned that the matter served at the ELS of, I think, sometime in November. To my recollection, what came before the ELS was merely the compliance in terms of the information, the adequacy of the information, and the compliance with I think is it MIRSA that was looked at the time. And I also remember very well that Eskom had also sent a letter requesting that NERSA holds back to the processing of this RCA, obviously waiting for that 54 billion rands error at the time. However, obviously the team justified why this can be considered separately. But the main point that I would like to make here, particularly because it might affect stakeholders, and also the ELS's processes, is the step that I seem to be missing here. And that step is the step where there is a discussion document that is brought to the ELS, firstly to note the application, and then after that to then approve the publication of the discussion document for stakeholder comment. That last point is the one that I am missing. If there is one that was approved by the ELS, I would like the team then to mention the date on which the ELS approved a discussion document, and noting the application and also when that discussion document was published. So that for me is the first thing in terms of process, just so that we are comfortable that we complied from our side. Then I want to move on to the table where we do the calculation. The table, I think it's table 2. Let me just go to table. Let me go to table 3. I think it's table 3, page 4. Table 3. Can we first of all just make sure that we put the units of measure properly there, because they're not appearing. So it's important that we get a sense of what these figures are. So we're not putting any units of measure there. If we can just do that improvement. Then the first question that I then have is in relation to the primary energy cost in terms of assessing the efficiency of the cost, looking, for example, at the fact that, yes, there was a forecast by ESCOM, which is the decision that we have taken. And it does happen that when we make an adjustment, you may find that afterwards, ESCOM will come back through the RCA, even if we have already done a downward adjustment, as we're not satisfied at the time. So I wanted to find out from the team, apart from just doing an exercise of simply checking, what have we allowed for the OCGT usage, just that, and then also then to benchmark the cost that we can allow, because obviously the OCGTs were utilized to compensate for the poor plant performance in terms of the coal fleet. So you can see that the amount is quite high. Is 111 billion rands that was actually spent. If you can also just put the units there, because I'm obviously here just making assumptions, knowing that how much these amounts will be. And we allowed only 89 billion rand in the decision, and if you look at how much they spent, it's quite high, and that calls for us not to just look at the prudency, what they could have done simply because they couldn't achieve, the expected performance of the coal plant, and therefore they had to go to the OCGTs. Apart from just looking at it from that aspect, can we also look at the efficiency of this cost, firstly? And when we look at it, can we also just consider the maintenance regime that was applied, the quality and the scope of that maintenance, which could have affected the plant performance, so that they don't have to utilize the OCGTs more than what we have allowed. So for me, that aspect did not come out in terms of how the team has looked into that to see if at least the performance that was conducted by ESCOM to make sure that the plant will perform, and so that they will be able to achieve what they needed to achieve, the output that they needed to achieve, without over-utilizing the OCGTs, but to utilize coal. That did not come out, at least for me. And then I'm looking at the depreciation amount there. Yes, I appreciate that it is lower than what we approved in terms of the decision. But can I just understand whether that what that relates to? Is it for all of the function business units at ESCOM, or is it just for a particular business unit of ESCOM here? Is it combined generation, distribution, and transmission? what is happening there with that amount, if that can be clarified. And then I'm looking also at the expenditure. Can we also just be clarified, because also the actual that was spent is quite steep. The variance is too high compared to what we have allowed. That obviously doesn't look good even in terms of the forecast, because we're sitting, or at least we decided on 57 billion, if I'm looking at that, assuming that these figures are in billions, obviously. And then the actual that was spent is 88.7 billion rands. That obviously is quite huge there. What has been missed there? What justifies that huge discrepancy? So we can do that, at least be given some comfort on the basis of the efficiencies, and link it back to, at the time of taking the decision, what did we consider when we granted that 57 billion rands, and then which now turned into 88.7 billion rands? What has been missed? So that we can look at the assumptions that were before us when the forecast was done, and perhaps maybe the robustness of that forecast that was done. So we need, because the difference is quite huge, it does call on us to carefully look into what actually made us to approve that amount, and why Eskom had to spend the 88.7 billion rands. What is it linked to? Because now, if we have that as well as the big amount on primary energy, obviously it says something, and it could have been mitigated somewhat if we can be informed as to how that could have been mitigated. Yeah, so those are the sort of big ticket items for me in terms of this RCA. And then I think what is important as well is just to make sure that we do consider the sort of the affordability aspect there, given the recent adjustments and the increases. What does this mean then in terms of the prices to the tariffs going forward, if this were to be obviously recovered? And also looking at the time period, even though we're not dealing with the liquidation at this point in time, but just for us to get a better sense in terms of the impact of this decision, if the regulator were to take the decision as is. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Madam Maseti. Now I call upon Mr. Mkize.
Thanks, Chairperson, and thanks to all the presenters. On my side, I'll start off by saying, maybe with regards to public consultation, I note that Eskom, in terms when we look at the application, you are saying that there were no persons that wanted to take up to present at the public hearing, nor were any comments received. And I would then like to know if Eskom did consult their client base prior to lodgement. And then I note also, like on page 56 and other areas, that you find that there are sometimes just empty paragraphs. If you can just assist in terms of cleaning up the document accordingly, in terms of quality assurance. I I think the same thing applies when you go to page 92, when you've got that, like, for example, 6.4.5 and you've got 6.4.6, which actually should just be one paragraph. The same with 6.6, 6.4.7, and you can I think you can see for yourself that something is not right. But I would also like to check on 6.4.6. You say the biggest contributor to the energy shortfall is IPP purchases at a quantum of 6.227 gigawatt hours. Am I understanding correctly that the IPP purchases come as a result of trying to counter the shortfall? The shortfall is a result of ESCOM's own failure to meet the demand. In other words, you don't cut back because they are IPPs per se. Just the clarity in the articulation there. Also concerned regarding, if you can just help here with, if you go to page 95, like 6.4.16 under D, sorry, you've got the higher prices in terms of unit prices. Like you've got that 61 rand per ton for the long-term fixed contract. I'd just like to know, how far do you go in terms of checking the price element? Because one would expect a more steadier price for the long-term fixed contracts than what is happening here. That price that is 61 rand per ton higher. Just to relook at that. And then there's another element that you talk of under 6.4.18 regarding the use of rail. If I know that some of these things, we need to stick to the methodology, as we have been in some instances finding ourselves on the wrong side of the law, with us being very enthusiastic to drive the utility to be more efficient and look at the benefit of consumers in trying to balance the scales, only to find ourselves erring. So whilst I would still caution against us being overzealous in trying to be considerate to consumers. I'm just concerned that have you really looked into the issues of rail, the use of rail that would be cheaper than trucks on the road, considering also the infrastructure damage, the road infrastructure damage? Something that I hope we can assist in looking at. And there's something that I'm not understanding with regard to the net abnormal cost that that is under, it's on page 247 of 205, 265. It's 113 of 131 of the black stamped pages, where you're saying ESCOM auditors have determined that the treatment of CIA or DRA cost was incorrect, and therefore the balances that were formerly written off balances are reinstated in 2024. If you may just explain that for me, just to better understand it. Yeah, I think I'm covered to some extent. I will await the responses. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize. Can we get the responses from the team? Thank you, team.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the questions. I will start right away. The first question was the issue of process, which ELS did consider this application together with the consultation paper. It was the ELS of the 2nd of December. So what we will do, Chairperson, will then update the document to indicate that apologies on our side for not flagging the ELS date that has considered the publication of the application. We only indicated the date the application was published, which was the 3rd of December. So the actual ELS that considered the matter was the ELS of the 2nd of December. And then in terms of the issues on the table 3, we will put the unit of measure to make it readable. And then in terms of checking the reasons why ESCOM has spent more than what was allowed, I will allow the team, the section leaders to indicate. I will start with Ms. Magubane in terms of the primary energy, the over expenditure there. If Ms. Magubane, you can indicate what contributed to the over expenditure by ESCOM. With your permission, Chairperson. Ms. Magubane.
Thanks, Mr. Ntukene. Yeah, look, I think we will see if we can enhance. We will enhance that section. I think we tried to look at the numbers in detail, as I've indicated. Sort of the raw data that we tested and the benchmarking, but we'll also check probably to indicate what was applied for, so that we just take it one step back. And then we will tie up with the OPEX section that talks to maintenance. That section deals with monies that were set aside for maintenance and whether that was implemented. So we will just tie those sections together, or rather refer to it to whatever extent that enhances the primary energy section. And I don't know if I'm able to answer the question, but that would be my attempt. When it comes to the IPP shortfall, it's just a shortfall based on delays in the program. Just indicating that is what the system would have seen if those plans would have been online. And of course, energy is energy, so that energy would have not needed to come from the ESCOM fleet had those been on time. And so that's really what we are saying. Of course, appreciating the production load profile of those plans, etc. But on an energy to energy basis, that is the only a framing that we were making. But we're happy also to look into that to make sure that it reads correctly as far as that's possible. And then in terms of the fixed contracts, we do get quite detailed information from ESCOM in terms of the different contracts and the provisions therein. I don't know, Mr. Chabalala, if you want to come in and talk directly to that 61 rands per ton higher. comment from Mr. Mkhize, as well as the issue of rail, the use of rail, and the challenges around moving the transport of coal from trucks to rail. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Ms. Magubane. I actually wanted to come in on the issue of rail that Mr. Mkhize indicated, and we take note of the comments. Although we can see on table number 69 on the coal transported, there is an overall lower kilotons of coal that was actually transported during the period, but primarily because of the lower energy sales during that period. But we note the issue that Mr. Mkhize has raised, and I think maybe as a team we would see as to how can we perhaps enhance our submission, particularly on the paragraph 6.4.18. Thank you.
Thanks, Chairperson. If we can move on to depreciation. The depreciation relates to all the businesses, but Mr. Chawalala, you can confirm that for members?
Yes, indeed. It's for all the businesses, generation, transmission, and distribution. Thank you, Darren, again.
Thank you very much. And then with regard to the expenditure variance, the Chairperson, I see Ms. Masiti's hand is up. If maybe I can pause.
Okay, Madam Maseti.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I don't think that the answer for me is confusing. Why it is confusing? If you go down the page, you'll see that we have table 1. In table 1, you will see that we deal with the total allowable revenue decision from the generation business. So it's for generation business. Now, when you look at all of the figures that are on table 3, of which table I based my questions on, those figures are exactly the same as the figures that you find on table 1. That table 1 is only for generation business. It is therefore not accurate to also to actually say that the depreciation amount that we see there of 70.2 billion, and then it was the actual it was 63.9 billion, that it relates to all of the 3 businesses. It's incorrect, because on table 1 for generation alone, that is the amount that is reflected there. So there's something wrong. Can we double check this?
Thank you, Madam Maseti. Can I ask the team to respond on this last point from Madam Maseti before going further responses? Let's start with this recent one.
Thank you, Chairperson. So, yes, indeed, the figure is meant to be for the total. And if you can go to table 18, Chairperson, it covers generation, while tables 30 and 39 would cover transmission and distribution. Collectively, that's the amount that's meant to be reflected in either table 1 or table 2. But the team will actually go and actually verify that this is indeed the case. Thank you.
Through your indulgence, Chairperson, so it means, therefore, the decision that we're asked to take, which is summarized on page 8, there is the decision. It states the draft decision, and then it says table 1. On table 1, which is the decision that we're asked to make, it then shows these figures that I told you about. And it actually shows all of that, all of the figures that are on table 3. And in fact, it then ascribes that depreciation amount that I queried, it ascribes it to generation business only. So how can it be that what we see on table 3 is for all of them? How?
Thanks, Madam Masete. Just hold on. I also see Mr. Mkize's hand is up.
Yeah, just a small comment on my side to say there's also a need to indicate issues of quality assurance, noting where we come from, just to reflect on it in terms of the submission, the peer reviewing and matters related thereto in terms of confidence in the calculation and determination of the figures that we have on the various tables. Thank you.
All right, team, please respond to the recent questions from members.
Yes, thanks, Chairman. So on table 1, if I can indicate that the table 1 relates to the entire application for entire ESCOM, not only ESCOM generation. So the heading that say total allowable revenue decision for the generation business is incorrect, Chairperson. We need to correct that. It is for the entire ESCOM group, not only generation. And we apologize for that. It will be corrected to reflect that the decision is not only for generation, it is for the entire ESCOM. So if I can then move, with your permission, to the question on the expenditures. The question was that the reasons for over expenditure and the reason for the decision that we have allowed. Indeed, Chairperson, our decision was based on the methodology. But the ESCOM actual expenditure mostly does not align its expenditure to the inflation. For instance, the employee benefit cost. When the decision is determined, it's determined on the inflation. But when ESCOM implement, it will not align that decision to the inflationary adjustment as per the methodology. Just giving an example on the employee benefit cost, because that was the one that I did a deep dive on in terms of the analysis. But what we will do, Chairperson, we will indicate for each and every line item what has made the expenditure to go beyond the allowed amount. And then when we come to the next issue that was raised, I think Ms. Magubane has covered a couple of them. There were document cleanup issue that Ms. Mkize has flagged, which we will do. And the quality assurance, which Ms. Mkize has indicated, which is the last point. We did interdivisional quality assurance within NERSA. We also did quality assurance within the division, within the ELR, and within the department, SEPT. That is the assurance that we can provide at the moment. Chairperson, I think I can leave it at that, and then we can follow up on the follow-up question, Chairperson. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Can I check with the members if they've got any further questions by way of follow-ups? Members? I do not see any hands. So where we are now is that there is further guidance, further clarifications, further points of enhancements actually that the members have provided. I'm not going to repeat all of them, but for instance, the table 1 right at the beginning, which the team has now considered, that is actually referring to all the 3 divisions, not only generation. So this is just an example of the things that the members have highlighted that the teams need to work on, as well as other points are here. What the team says about quality assurance, that this is how that's done. But it's clear that despite what has already been done in terms of quality assurance, there's further requests from the members to do even further enhancements in terms of quality. And then there's a whole lot of other points, which I'm not going to mention all of them, which I'm in terms of the enhancements that the members have actually asked for. So based on that, I'm now going to go back to section 14, the recommendations to and read it in conjunction with all the enhancements that came from the team members, saying that it is requested that the electricity subcommittee recommend to the energy regulator to approve the decision on Eskom's MYPD 5 RCA application for 23-24 financial years and decision RFD on Eskom's MYPD RCA application for 23-24 financial years. So with that, can I see by show of hands if the members are in support of the recommendation? I see Madam Selmane. I am also in support as well. So it's
Chairperson, from my side, I'm uncomfortable to support. I will just mention, not discuss, just my grounds. The first one is just the process aspect, which I've already indicated in terms of the discussion document and the date on which ELS considered that. And then secondly, Chairperson, I'm not comfortable with the figures that are before us. They don't seem to tally. There are some paragraphs and even table 4. I'm finding it difficult to put it into context with what is being asked. And then thirdly, Chair, based on the questions that I have asked, apart from the fact that all of these figures for the decision are ascribed to generation and not doing some reconciliation and be certain about how much is for is for transmission or distribution, because that amount for me as to the actual decision and the variance, for me it does not make sense. It looks a bit small to take into account depreciation for all 3 business units. That for me, I'm a bit worried about. So I'm not comfortable to support. And then the fourth thing is that it might be a challenge because there might well be further adjustments to be done. If, for instance, we're still gonna go back on the issue of the primary energy cost as well as the expenditure, given the fact that we raised issues around maintenance, which is linked to the overutilization of the OCGTs and whether the maintenance regime that was considered at the time was complied with so that it can improve the availability of the coal plants. So those things did not come out, and I don't know the adjustments that will be made. So on the basis of that, Chairperson, and including these discrepancies on the actual figures, I'm not able to support that at this point. The document is of appreciable standard for the subcommittee to take this document to the ER and then try at the ER level to start seeing certain things that have been adjusted, and make sure that we processed it properly and it is ready for a decision without delaying the ER meeting. It is on those bases that I'm unable to support, and I will therefore dissent from the recommendation at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Maseti. Your dissent is noted. Just process-wise, I just want to double check with Advocate Sitole and also Mr. Mkiz. I think I also saw their hands were up while voting, just to check whether the hands were up in support of the recommendations, just to double check. Mr. Mkiz and Advocate Sitole. Yes, so I see Advocate Sitole, your hand is up, so I think you are in support.
And Mr. Mkiz's hand was up, Chair.
Okay, fine, thanks. So on that basis, then I read earlier on that Madam Semane and also myself as well were in support. So on that note, thank you very much. I think we are now ready to move on to the next item, item number 6. Once again, let me call
number 7, Chair.
Is it number 7? Oh, sorry. We're on number 6. We are now going to number 7. Mr. Matebula. Thank you, Mr. Mabunda, for correcting me there.
Chairperson, thank you. This application, Chair, it's for licenses to operate by 4 preferred bidders under the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Procurement Program, commonly known as BW7. Chair, without wasting your time, let me allow Mr. Tamai Ore to just take you through the details, and we can take questions and comments from the members. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, regulator members, fellow staff members, and members of the public. Before I start, I would like just to make one correction on the submission. On table 1 on the main submission, page 2 of 9, the tariffs for Springer's Solar Facility 6 and Corona Energy were swapped around. The same table was also pasted on table 5 with the same mistake. So apologies, members. If you can just take note of that correction, we're going to correct it before it goes to the energy regulator. The purpose of this submission is to request the electricity subcommittee to recommend to the energy regulator to approve the issuance of the license to operate generation facilities to the 4 IPPs that are listed in table 1 of the submission. And the electricity subcommittee is the delegated committee to make this recommendation. The background information to the procurement program is well detailed in the submission, and I think members are now familiar with it. It started with the need of new generation capacity as well as mixing renewable energy sources in South Africa. And the determinations were done in accordance with the integrated resource plan, the section 34 determination, and we are now doing bid window 7, of which under bid window 7, there has been bid window 7.1. It came in batches 7.1, which was also licensed for a total capacity of 1,760 megawatts, as well as bid window 7.2, which had a capacity of 1,290 megawatts. And following this, bid window 7 preferred bidders were announced in 15 December 2025 with a capacity of 890 from 4 IPPs that we are discussing today. So with regards to project specifics, we see that these preferred bidders, as listed on table 4 of the submission, 3 of them were developed by Red Rocket South Africa, which already have got a number of projects from bid window 1 to bid window 6. And the other project was also developed by Energy, which also have got some projects from bid window 1 to bid window 6. And the projects were subjected to public participation process as required by the Electricity Regulation Act and PAJA, and no objections were received when both the applicants and NESA advertised. The respective dates and sequence are included in the submission in each RFD. And NESA's public hearing was subsequently cancelled. 3 of the projects are in the Free State, as you can see from table 4, and the 4th project is in Mpumalanga. We see a shift on location of projects from areas such as Northern Cape to other areas where there is capacity, grid capacity, although there are less solar irradiation. As indicated on the dashboard on Annexure A, we see capacity factors in these areas ranging from between 32% and 35% as compared to 38 to 45% that we're observing in projects that were located in areas that have got better solar irradiation, like the Northern Cape. And the PP tariffs, as indicated on the dashboard, continues to be favorable at an average of 0.53 rand per kilowatt hour. And this is attributed to stiff competition in the bidding window, as well as the fact that these bidders already have got several ongoing projects, so they are able to negotiate better prices with both suppliers and lenders. And from human resource perspective, they just use the same human resource to develop the projects as well as maintenance. The debt equity ratio as well, we see that it has now moved up to in the range of 20, 80-20, while the payback period is now longer at 14 to 18 years, showing that the lenders are no longer viewing this technology or the program as risky. And from technical view, we see that all the 4 projects employ horizontal single-axis tracking mounting to maximize generation in these areas with less solar resources. More technical information for each project is stated on table 10 of each RFD, and I will just take that one as read. Lastly, based on the available information and the technical, financial, legal, and economic analysis conducted on the applications, we request that the Electricity Subcommittee recommend to the Energy Regulator to 1, approve the issuance of the licenses to operate generation facilities to the IPPs listed on table 5. 2, to approve the tariff between each IPP and the NTCSA as shown on table 5 with the corrections that I have already mentioned. 3, to note the PPAs between the IPPs listed and the NTCSA. And finally, to approve the draft decision and draft reasons for decision. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hore. So I will now call upon the members if they've got points of enhancements or questions. Thank you, members, by show of hands. I do not see any hands, and Mr. Hore has already read all the recommendations into the record with that correction that he also highlighted. So based on that, can I check with the members if they are in support of the recommendations with the changes by show of hands? Mr. Mkize, Madam Semane, Madam Maseti, Advocate Sitole, and myself, also in support. Thank you very much. So, yeah. I'm not sure now where I got amused. Okay. I'm saying we're now going to go to item number 8. We are going to call upon Mr. Machebula to introduce. Over to you, Mr. Machebula.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, we are at item number 8, the one that I had introduced earlier. Chair, it came as a matters arising from ER, and Chair, we saw it fit that we take the document through the ELS first to get members' inputs before it is shared with the members at ER. Chair, the report that was requested by ER was on status and challenges concerning the municipal bulk payments on electricity with ESCOM. And Chair, we wanted to request that this report be recommended by subcommittee members for noting by ER. So Chair, let me maybe allow Ms. Kulani Matumbu just to talk on this. I must indicate, Chair, that the figures have to be taken from the date that they were reported, as these figures continuously change. So they may differ from some figures that we might have seen recently, maybe when we were doing municipal tariff applications. But Chair, let me ask Ms. Matumbu just to talk briefly on the report, and we can take comments and questions. Thanks.
Good morning, Chair, members, colleagues, and the public. Chairperson, the purpose of this report was to provide the members with an overview of the status, underlining cost drivers, and a risk associated with municipal non-payment of the bulk electricity account to ESCOM, and as well as the effectiveness of the current interventions aimed at addressing the areas. Chairperson, the report or the analysis undertaken revealed a material and substantive deterioration in municipal payment performance across the electricity supply industry over the period of 2020 to 2026. And the total municipal areas owed to ESCOM increased significantly from approximately 27.9 billion in 2020 to 109 billion in 2026. The debt profile is highly concentrated within a relatively small number of municipalities, particularly in the Free State, Mpumalanga, and Gauteng provinces. Municipalities such as Maluta, Phofu, Majabeng, Emalahleni, MP, Govenbeki, and Mfuleni account for a disproportionate share of the total areas, indicating that the challenge is not uniformly distributed across the sector, but is concentrated within municipalities experiencing persistent financial and governance distress. The report further indicates that a substantial portion of the debt is aged beyond 90 days, suggesting that the issue is structural rather than temporary in nature. And in many instances, the areas continue to escalate despite the existence of repayment arrangement, highlighting weak underlying repayment capacity and limited sustainability of current interventions. The continued deterioration in payment performance appears to be driven by a combination of weak revenue collection, inadequate credit control enforcement, high technical and non-technical losses, affordability constraint within local communities, and broader municipal governance and financial management weaknesses. From a sectoral perspective, Chairperson, the persistence of municipal non-payments represents significant risk to the financial sustainability and operational stability of the electricity supply industry. Non-payment adversely affects Eskom's liquidity position and undermines the integrity of the cost-reflective tariff framework. Furthermore, it weakens payment discipline across the electricity value chain and increases the risk of supply interruptions, deferred infrastructure maintenance, and broader socio-economic disruptions. In response to these challenges, Chairperson, the National Treasury introduced the Municipal Debt Relief Program in March 2023 as a conditional and performance-based intervention aimed at restoring payment discipline while improving municipal financial sustainability. The program required that municipalities maintain their current Eskom accounts, implement cost-reflective tariffs, strengthen revenue collection and credit control measures, reinvest electricity revenues, and improve financial reporting and governance practices. However, Chairperson, it is important to note that implementation outcome to date of this program remained mixed. While the program has introduced stronger monitoring and accountability mechanisms, compliance level remained below optimal thresholds. As at January 2026, 57 participating municipalities have failed to maintain current Eskom accounts for periods exceeding 3 months, which represent a material breach of one of the program's core conditions. Compliance with revenue collection and credit control requirements also remains weak, indicating that many municipalities continue to experience deep-rooted structural financial challenges. From a regulatory perspective, Chairperson, there are several interventions that NERSA may consider, which are strengthening accountability and improve payment discipline within the municipalities. These interventions may include strengthening license conditions to enforce compliance with electricity supply agreements and payment obligations, enhancing monitoring and reporting requirements for financial distressed municipalities, and requiring municipalities to demonstrate progress towards the cost-reflective tariffs and improved revenue management practices as part of the tariff approval processes. NERSA may also consider closer coordination with National Treasury, Eskom, and COGTA, and provincial treasuries to support integrated regulatory and financial oversight. Furthermore, consideration may be given to promoting the accelerated rollout of prepaid and smart metering systems, which will strengthen ring-fencing requirements for electricity revenue and explore regulatory measures relating to persistent and material non-compliance by municipalities. In conclusion, Chairperson, the analysis demonstrates that municipal areas challenge extends beyond short-term liquidity constraints and reflects broader systematic weaknesses within local government financial management. And absent targeted and sustained intervention aimed at strengthening government, improving revenue collection efficiency, enforcing financial discipline, and enhancing operational sustainability, the continued escalation of municipal debt poses a material risk to the long-term sustainability of municipal electricity distribution and the broader financial sustainability or stability of the sector. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Matumbu. Can I now open it up to the members if they've got any questions? Members? Yes, Advocate Sitole.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to the EM and Ms. Matumbu. Chair, mine is a point of clarity, which is as to how many of these municipalities that are battling in account have entered into a distribution agency agreement with Eskom. And if we do have such information, I just want to get confirmation if NERSA was involved in them, and saying this in light of the fact that there's a section, I think, in the Act that says that the LSNC cannot transfer its or assign its obligations under a license issued by the regulator without getting the approval of the regulator. So, Chair, that is my point of clarity to the team that has compiled the report. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Advocate Sitole. And now I call upon Madam Sima.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to Mr. Matebula and Madam Matum. From my side, Chair, I've been watching and following all the proceedings with regards to this hot potato issue about the municipal debt, where it relates to ESCOM supplied areas. One thing I've seen, which I don't know what maybe might be prohibiting the National Treasury from making it an instruction. One municipality I saw yesterday on television, they said they've had a ring fence, even without just establishing a standalone entity. They on their own opened an account and ring fenced the electricity revenue so that it's always going to match the invoice or the bulk payment. So I just want to find out from our team, especially those who are interacting with the National Treasury on this matter, what is stopping the National Treasury from issuing such instruction? Because I think to the extent that this is allowed, the revenue from electricity is allowed to be blended in with other revenues, consistently the municipalities that are affected are showing the same habit of not being disciplined enough to pay ESCOM. And that results in kind of a double charge for the customers because they have to pay in terms of tariffs when ESCOM comes here and make the issue about municipal debt, and also the inconvenience that or the threat thereof that the consumers are subjected to, in particular the ones for City of Joburg, where ESCOM was threatening to cut the city whilst the other customers have paid. So what I want to know is from the National Treasury above and beyond what is currently on the table or being implemented, what is stopping them from issuing an instruction for the municipalities to ring fence, open a separate bank account where all the revenue from electricity is going to be paid to, and also where the bulk ESCOM accounts are going to be paid from. Thanks.